Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I am back with a sketchbook painting. I am still on my Holbein acrylic wash binge, so this will be painted using the acrylic wash. I've decided to paint a sunset beach today, and I'm gonna add a rose bush on the sand. Not very realistic because I don't think they can grow, but I kind of like how it looks. So right now what I'm doing is I just take a pencil and kind of lightly mark out the landscape so I know where the sky is and where the beach is and where the sea is. And I'm going to add just a bit of titanium white right above the sea level, and on top I'm going to paint it from dark blue to light blue. And I'm going to add more titanium white because when you're mixing orange or orange yellow with blue, it'll come out this very muddy color or a little bit greenish. So by adding more titanium white, it kind of cancels that out and it looks just a little bit more pastel. Then right now I'm just kind of blending out the paint so it becomes one smooth gradient by just moving the brush back and forth from left to right. Next, I'm going to paint the ocean. So usually what I see most people do is that they put a tape to separate the sky and the ocean, and then it's much easier to paint. But I find that sometimes it leaves this kind of a paint bump once you've removed the tape, so I'm just kind of winging it over here. On this side, on the top right, you can see that I've painted one part a little bit darker, and that's going to be where the waves are crashing in. Next, I'm going to paint the sand. So for this part of the sand that's near the waves, it's going to be in a lighter shade of brown. And then towards this part here will be a darker shade of brown. I don't exactly have all the colors specifically because this is a 12 color set, so I'm kind of just mixing the colors as I go. So it's not pre-mixed paint, so I don't have the title for the paints. It looks a little bit rough right now, but I'm going to wait for the paint to dry and then I'll work on it later. So now I'm moving back to the sky. I'm going to add orange on the right side, and then I'm just going to take a brush and dab it with water, and then I'm going to add titanium white with orange, and I'm just going to kind of smudge it back and forth and kind of blend it into the sunset. I'm adding a little bit more orange here as well, just to give that warm sunset glow. And I'm going to kind of spread out the paint a little bit on the top, but a little bit softer, and I'm going to add streaks of white and a bit of pink as well. So at first I was debating if I wanted kind of fluffy clouds, but I've decided to just keep it as streaky sunsets. So most of this kind of cloudy look will just be like streaks of paint across the sky in various colors. So we're going from orange to purple to dark blue. So for this part here, I'm just going to add more light purple streaks, and then on top I'm going to add a bit more dark blue streaks, and in between right now I'm just getting a little bit of highlights for the clouds. I'm using a little bit of white mixed with the purple for the highlights and also a dash of pink. And then for the top part will be the dark blue clouds, and I just add a little bit of light blue in between them. I find when painting this kind of sky is to keep a balance. It doesn't look too messy, and also just the right amount of colors so it wouldn't look too messy as well. Next, I'm going to paint the ocean. Because this blue looked a little bit too bright, that it just looks a bit tacky. So I'm adding a bit of brown to the blue, so it kind of like mutes it down a little bit. I actually forgot to press record, so there's a part here that's a little bit missing. But anyway, for that dark patch of the cloud there, I just add a little bit of black and brown to the blue, so you have that dark wave at the bottom right. And then now just for the sand, I'm just kind of like blending it out a little bit, adding water from the light to dark, so you kind of have this sandy look but also well blended enough. Next, I want to add a little bit of texture and movement to the ocean so it doesn't look too flat. So I'm using a fine line brush right now, and I'm dipping it in orange just to match the sky, and I'm drawing this kind of like little wavy lines across the ocean. I'm putting more emphasis on orange for the right part because that's where the sunset is. And then for the rest of the other parts, I'm using a darker shade of blue. And I'm just going to continue drawing these lines to indicate the waves of the ocean coming in. This part looks a little bit weird, but just continue to cover this whole thing in all these kind of lines, and then after that I'm going to add a lighter shade of blue in between it. So for this part, I'm actually using a slightly thicker brush, still a fine line brush but a thicker sized one with a bit more water, and then I'm going to continue to kind of fill in the spaces in between the dark lines with the lighter shade of blue so that it doesn't look so rigid. I'm also going to repeat this step for the part where there's all these orange lines as well, so that it kind of just blends in together and the glow from the sun looks a little bit more softer on the surface of the ocean. So for this darker wave over here, I want to draw a little bit of squiggly lines facing downwards, and then I'm going to add highlights on the top of the wave and just a dash of pinkish orange. So below here is kind of like where the foam comes to the shore, so I'm going to draw more squiggly lines in light blue. So when drawing these lines, it can look a little bit awkward at first, so to soften it, what you can do is add a little bit of water and then just kind of draw around the lines, and this will help to soften the lines a little bit so it doesn't look too outstanding. I'm doing a little bit of touch-ups on the top part again. I wanted to emphasize the glow from the sun, so I'm adding more orange, and I'm also going to add a bit of pink and white on these little streams on below the waves. Okay, right now we're trying to paint the water or the ocean waves crashing into the shore. So I'm going to continue to add these squiggly lines, which are the foam, in light blue. And then I'm going to take a brush, dab it in white. I'm going to just dab along the shoreline to give it the look of the ocean or the waves crashing in. Once that is done, I draw a little bit more of these squiggly lines in light blue to just kind of balance it out a little bit. Now we're going to paint the highlight of this whole painting, which is the rose bush, and also my favorite part. I'm using a very thin brush, a size 000 brush, just the tip of it to draw the stem of the rose bush. So I'm drawing it in dark brown, and what I want to do now is just kind of create the shape of the rose bush, and I want it to look a little bit kind of scattered. So what the direction of it is going to be like one facing here and another facing there, and then once I've got the shape of the bush, I'm going to add the flowers. So I'm painting the roses in pink, and I'm going to use titanium white to draw the petals, or rather add the details for the petals. So pink for the body of the flower, and on top of the flower use white. So to add a little bit of variety, then you kind of draw the roses facing in different direction. So like those are facing the top and towards the left, and this one is facing towards the front, which is kind of like my favorite rose. Once the roses are done, I'm going to paint the leaves in dark green and light green. So for some of the leaves, I add a little bit of extension, means I kind of draw a few stems spreading out, and then I add the leaves on top of it. So just to give it a little bit more character. I don't want this to be too bushy, but I just want it to look a little bit odd and out of place, because this is kind of like a peculiar place for the rose bush anyway. And then it is finished. Peel off the tape. I hope you like this simple painting. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Goodbye!